Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome Cheap Shot Nation. It's been a while since we've done one of these retro reviews, but it is exactly 20 years to the day of the WWF, ECW, WCW invasion on WWE Network. That's where I watched it on the 22nd of July 2001. We were in the Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio, in front of 17,694 fans. Those were the days. Although, you know, after recording this, obviously the fans are now back, so it makes a lot of difference. But if you want to hear what I thought of this pay-per-view, it's an absolute classic with some great matches, then joining me for the main part of the video. Also, I hope you like the new sort of setup in the interim. I've still got to get my green screen up and things because I've had my studio decorated and things, so you know it's all sixes and sevens at the moment. But I hope you enjoy the video and you keep coming back for more, so make sure you subscribe and join us on all the social media channels, and most importantly join us for the main part of the video. And so the whole premise for this pay-per-view is that the WCW and ECW are invading after Shane bought WCW on an episode of, or on the last episode of Monday Nitro in Panama City in Florida. Also, ECW is now owned by Stephanie McMahon, a true visionary and the greatest general manager of ECW history. So, all of the matches are basically WCW, ECW versus the WWF as it was then. The setup is brilliant, the staging is great, they've got the big V and the two entrances like they've got on AEW now, except, you know, the WWE guys come out of one tunnel and the ECW, WCW guys come out of the other tunnel, and it just makes for a whole sort of we are separate, but, you know, backstage obviously breaking kayfabe, they're obviously all together and they plan these things. So the first match is the Alliance member Lance Storm and Mike Awesome, formerly of Team Canada at the very end of WCW, versus the WWE's Edge and Christian. So this match was quite a surprise actually, but considering who was in this match and how the invasion storyline was booked, obviously these two guys weren't sat on lucrative contracts, so they came over to WWE, and it was Vince's goal to bury every single one of them, which is a damn shame because Mike Awesome was 6 foot plus, could fly around like a cruiserweight, and Lance Storm played his character brilliantly, and he was really, really good. But Edge and Christian as well, also a very, very good tag team back in 2001. But the finish would come with an awesome bomb attempt as Christian hits the spear and Edge lands on Awesome and wins the match. So this is after... Is it after? It's after the King of the Ring, isn't it? So Edge is already King of the Ring. Edge and Christian are going through a bit of a turbulent time. Obviously Mike Awesome and Lance Storm are the two new guys. I would have liked to have seen some fresh blood win here, but we would see plenty of that during the night. I'm going to give this one 2 cheap shots out of 5. Had a lot of promise. It was a fair opener, but considering the people that were in it, I thought this one could have been a heck of a lot better. So we're going to go into the second match now, which, to be honest, I would have loved to have rolled over, but it was part of the invasion angle, and it's a special referee match with Mick Foley, bang bang, the special guest referee in between two referees who were having a fight between each other. Well, I say a fight, it was more like a sort of a roll around in the hay, but it's referee Nick Patrick of WCW, who is very controversial at this point, but he's getting the heat, so you know that's all good. You know, Vince wanted the WCW, ECW contingent to be the bad guys, to be the heels, and the did that very well, versus Earl Hebner, the chief referee of WWE at the time. He's now being replaced by Little H, of course. And I wish I could give this 0 because this match was awful, but Hebner wins with a shoulder block. After a little bit of here and there, and obviously all the other referees around the ring, bit of toing and throwing, and Mick Foley just trying to entertain the crowd as best as he could, because Earl Hebner and Nick Patrick could definitely not do this. But that being said, the crowd seems to be behind them, so you know, stranger things have happened. But if I could give this a 0, I would. I mean, I probably should have done, but you know, at least they got in the ring and they put in some effort. I mean, they're not trained wrestlers, so what more can you ask of them? But I'm going to give this a 0.5 out of 5, and that's being very generous. Moving on to the next match. So the tag team championships are on the line next. It is the Alliance versus the Alliance of Palumbo and O'Haire. That is Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire versus WWE APA. That is the tag team championship. I believe this is the WCW tag team championships. Yeah, I didn't write that down actually, which is bad on my part. Anyway, tag team championships, Palumbo and O'Haire versus APA. Another very run-of-the-mill match, but you know, these guys didn't get much airtime, and you know, WCW, Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire, both of these guys were huge. They could fly around again like cruiserweights, much like Mike Awesome if they were given the time. If you go back and watch the end of WCW, the last 3 pay-per-views, these guys were tearing it up, almost giving birth to a new era of WCW before it got bought out by Vince McMahon. And APA were just sort of there at this point. I love the APA, I think they're brilliant. But at this point they'd had a few tag team championship runs. They were more there just as filler, which is a damn shame. APA win with a clothesline from hell on, I'm not sure who was on, but obviously from Bradshaw. I think there was a Dominator in there as well, if I remember rightly. And it was a serviceable match. I just wish they would have given them a bit more time to do a bit more than what they had time to do. So this is why I'm going to give this one a 2 cheap shots out of 5 rating, which should have been a lot higher, but we've still got the best to come. We've got a couple of real sleeper hits on the way, so keep it locked right here on Cheap Shot Entertainment. Speaking of sleeper hits, this one was slightly better than the last couple of matches, obviously, but it is champion versus champion. It is cruiserweight champion versus light heavyweight champion. It is X-Pac versus Billy Kidman. I think the championships are role reversed here, with Billy Kidman being the light heavyweight champion and X-Pac being the cruiserweight champion. Of course, the light heavyweight champion being WWE at the time and cruiserweight being WCW. But this match, it was again very serviceable. Crowd was a little bit flat. You'd expect a little bit more from these two, but then they didn't have a lot of time to work out what exactly they were doing. Obviously, if you will go back and watch the last days of WCW, the first days of the invasion and things like that, you know, the people at WWE were genuinely in fear of their jobs. They were bringing in these new people, and there wasn't a lot of cohesion in the locker room between all of the guys and girls in the back. So only a few of them got over, like, such as Rob Van Dam, for example. So yeah, it was a difficult time for everybody. WCW, ECW guys trying to fit in, and also WWE guys thinking they were going to lose their jobs to these new people that were coming in. But that's backstage politics. We're talking wrestling here. This match could have again been a lot better if they were given a lot more time. But again, they're trying to shove loads of matches onto a pay-per-view card. Something that WWE has learned in the last sort of year or so is to only put like 6 matches on the main card and make them longer so they tell a better story. And I appreciate story. I'm a story-driven wrestling fan. As a trainee myself, I love watching the stories and seeing how they can develop and seeing which ones I can recreate as my character. So it's all gravy really, isn't it? But this one, Billy Kidman wins, hitting the shooting star press, and he is a double champion, I believe, at the end of this. So Kidman wins and unifies the belts, basically, which is, I'm going to give this one 2 cheap shots out of 5. Wish I could go a little bit higher, but just for a cruiserweight match, didn't enjoy this one. I usually quite like cruiserweights. So the next match is a grudge match. It is the Alliance's Raven versus WWE's William Regal, one of my favourites. This match was going quite well, actually, considering the contrast in styles between William Regal being more technical and Raven being more of a hitter and a bit more chilled out with how he does things. But this match would finish with an invasion of the ring as Taz rushes the ring, hits the suplex, and Raven hits the Raven effect on William Regal to win. I did say I really enjoyed this pay-per-view, but I'm struggling to back that up now because I'm going to give this one another 2 cheap shots out of 5. I promise it does get better. 2001 was a very good year for wrestling. Maybe not the invasion angle. I think they should have done a little bit better with that one, but let me know what you think in the comments section down below. If you've watched the invasion, watched any of the 2001 pay-per-views recently, let me know what you think. Next we have a 6-man tag match, and the Alliance's Sean Stasiak and Chris Kanyon and Hugh Morris versus the WWF's Big Show, Billy Gunn and Albert. What a 6-man tag this was. It's like they just drew straws. It's like, right, yeah, you want some pay-per-view time, pal? Here you go, here's a 6-man tag. The Alliance win this one though, and by having an arm draped over Billy Gunn after Big Show and Albert fight on the outside. So they weren't getting on at this point. They do team up later down the line, way down the line. But all 3 Alliance members are taken out after the match, and again, I wish I could give this more, but these people just seem to be chucked together because they had, contractual obligations to get put on the show. I mean, why wasn't Big Show in the inaugural Brawl? I mean, with Kane, Big Show and Undertaker, you'd have to, well then again, Big Show was a bit of a jobber in 2001, to be fair. So maybe you wouldn't have put him in the inaugural Brawl, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? It was good to see some new blood though, with Stasiak, Kanyon and Hugh Morris. Of course, Stasiak and Chris Kanyon, all part of the faction. I can't remember. They call the Pretty People or something like that. I can't even remember. Go back and watch my WCW pay-per-views from the beginning of the year. The reviews there, and you'll find out what they're called. I just can't remember what they're called, but they're all part of the same faction, which involved Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare as well. And that was a good faction. Like I say, it was a new breed. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it, and we never got to see them, or a few of them we got to see in WWE once the invasion angle was over. I'm going to give this one cheap shot out of 5. It was not good. It was not pretty. It didn't give anything to the pay-per-view apart from giving some guys some airtime, which is good. But as far as enjoyment goes, nah, no chance, pal, no chance. Next match is Taz from the Alliance versus Tajiri from the WWE. Now that is very strange because obviously Taz and Tajiri were both contracted with WWE at the time of the invasion. Taz defected to the Alliance and Tajiri stayed with the WWE, of course having Tori Wilson on his arm as well, which is always a bonus. You know, I wouldn't complain, that's for sure. But this match was, again, another one cheap shot out of 5. Green mist to Taz as he tries to hit several suplexes and do all his Taz-like stuff. Probably a Taz mission as well. I say probably, I have watched it honestly, it's just been a little while ago. The green mist is hit and Tajiri smacks Taz round the side of the head with a spin kick and gets the pin. Again, one cheap shot out of 5. It honestly will get better, I promise. Hand over heart. So this is easily the best match of the night. It's for the WWF Hardcore Championship, and it is the Alliance's RVD versus the WWF's Jeff Hardy. So it is the Battle of the Swans and the Battle of the Frogs. It's Swans versus Frogs here. But who would get their top rope move in first? These two battle throughout the arena. Obviously it is a hardcore match. At one point Jeff Hardy gets chucked between the V in the entrance ramp, almost falls down there as well at the end when they're leaving, and Rob Van Dam pretty much dominates. Jeff Hardy got quite a lot of offense in, but it would ultimately come down to who would hit their top rope move first and most impactfully, and of course Rob Van Dam managed to do that quite successfully with the 5-star frog splash, and you have a new hardcore champion. The first WWF title to change hands on the pay-per-view, apart from the no, it was actually, because the Cruiserweight champion went over to Kidman. Kidman was the WWF Cruiserweight champion. He was the Cruiserweight champion, X-Pac was the light heavyweight champion, so yes, was the first WWF championship to change hands on this particular pay-per-view. By far the best match on the card, and RVD being the most popular of the Alliance's breed of superstar as well. The crowd were really behind both of these guys, and you could feel the energy, and it made a lot of difference when you're watching it as well. So best match on the card, as I've mentioned, 3 cheap shots out of 5. Even the inaugural brawl wouldn't have got as much as this if it wasn't for what was at stake during that particular match. Next, we are reminded of a time when bra and panties matches were ripe in the WWE, and this is the tag team bra and panties match. So you get 4 times the fun for what it's worth. Anyway, it is the Alliance's Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler with the legs that go all the way up versus the WWE, that is Trish and Lita. Of course, Lita no stranger to taking her top off before she does a swanton bomb, of course, but you know, there you go, it's a special match, so why not? WWE wins, and can't really score this one because it's not actually a match, but you know how bra and panties matches work now. If you're a child, it just means they've ripped their top off and their bottoms off and exposed their bra and pants. If you're in the WWE, or knickers, as we say here in the UK. Rap with me. Anyway, can't really give this a score, but it was a thing. Moving on. Okay, so it seems like we're on the main event already, and I've missed the point where I said this pay-per-view is actually good, and it actually wasn't. I was very surprised. I remember it being a lot better than this, but we're on the inaugural brawl now. This is the main event. It is the classic 5-on-5 elimination match, I believe. So it is Team Alliance versus actually no, it's not. We don't get the elimination match until Yeah, Survivor Series. So this is just a 5-on-5 match actually. Team Alliance is Dudley, Dudley, Rhino, DDP and Booker T. So it is for all the Dudleys. Team WWF is Stone Cold, Angle, Jericho, Kane and Taker. Yeah, so it is the Dudley Boys rather than just Dudley. You know, from Harry Potter. Anyway, so this match, it does what it needs to do. There's a lot of stuff going off all over. Some double turns towards the end, a bit of a spoiler there. But we start with Austin having knee problems. Obviously it's well documented that he's got knee problems with his knee brace, and Devon, Rhino go through a table, and then Kane does the same thing as well. Taker has his own problems with Diamond Dallas Page, and he chases Diamond Dallas Page around the ring. Vince McMahon and McMahon and Shane in. Yeah, I think that is supposed to be Shane McMahon in at this point, trying to take the victory under his own belt. Angle has the match won at this point with him taking out Shane McMahon with the ankle lock. The referee is down. Austin turns his back on the WWE, kicks Angle in the head, gives him a stunner and puts Booker T in the pin for the win. Obviously there's a lot more to this match, but you know, it's hard taking notes when there's like 10 guys in the ring plus a referee and loads of table spots and things like that. But it was a good match, and in fact I'm going to give this one 3.5 cheap shots out of 5 because of the star power that was in it, and potential star power, because you've got a lot of WCW guys that were really good, ECW guys, ex-ECW guys, because the only one that's come over from the WCW at this point of the invasion is DDP and Booker T. So, you know, the Dudleys were already there, and obviously Shane McMahon, being the owner, was in the ring as well. So 3.5 cheap shots out of 5 for the inaugural brawl. And join me for my final thoughts on this one. So for all the time that I was telling you that this pay-per-view was really good, I've outdone myself and realised that it actually wasn't. It wasn't good at all. This pay-per-view could have been so much better with the star power, with everything else that was going for it, and they just, well, they crapped the bed, didn't they, really, with it. The storyline would roll on and it would get much better, and there would still be Alliance versus WWE matches throughout the summer and going into the Survivor Series, and they would get better as the people involved were getting more acquainted with each other and better able to tell a big story. Obviously the biggest story here going into the inaugural brawl is the storyline between Undertaker and DDP. Usually that would be a good thing. It's not. Because they gave DDP a character where he's basically stalking the Undertaker's then wife Sarah, where he had a tattoo on his neck, and he's had that removed now because, you know, I don't think he'd be able to fit Michelle McCool on his neck without it going all the way around. But he is now married to Michelle McCool, he's got kids with her and things like that, and he's really happy and retired. So until next year WrestleMania, when Vince comes knocking again. But yeah, Invasion. I have nostalgic feelings about this, and it wasn't great. I'll be honest, it just wasn't great. But if you have different opinions, let me know. Join me on the comment section down below. Get the conversation started on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like this video. New setup with the TV and things like that. I'm going to do things slightly different from now on. Only going to use the green screen when I need it. So yeah, hope you're enjoying it. I enjoy doing it this way actually, because it's slightly different for me. So Yeah, join us for more retro reviews. We've got the review of Money in the Bank 2021 that's been posted previously as well, so check that out. And yeah, more to come from the year 2021 and more to come from the year 2001 in our retro review series. You are the Cheap Shot Nation. I have been your host Luke, and I will see you next time.